So, guys, I bring to you today nothing but good news. Putin and Burkina Faso president are making plans for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. It has been said today that Putin and Burkina Faso president had a meeting in Moscow concerning the release of Nnamdi Kanu. Say that he's a man of freedom. He wanted peace. He wanted justice. He wanted freedom. He wanted Nigeria to be united. He wanted Nigeria to live in peace and harmony. He wanted the killings to stop. So, guys, I'll be playing the video concerning what Burkina Faso president and Putin discussed. I want you guys to stay tuned and watch that video so we'll get back to the real purpose of the day.
Good news to all Biafrans, as Burkina Faso's president, Ibrahim Traoré, visited Russian President Vladimir Putin over the issue of Nnamdi Kanu's imprisonment. This unexpected action has made many wonder why Ibrahim Traoré brought up Kanu's case and what role Russia might now play. Listen to President Ibrahim Traoré's speech to know their conclusion. Don't forget to share your ideas in the comments section below after watching the full video.
A few days ago, I traveled to Moscow to meet with President Vladimir Putin. The world may assume this visit focused only on military cooperation or the future of the Sahel Alliance. But today I want to say openly and without hesitation, I visited President Putin over the issue of Nnamdi Kanu's imprisonment. I did this because Africa has entered a new era, an era where leaders must not only protect their own borders, but must also speak when human rights, justice, and political stability anywhere on the continent are threatened.
If justice becomes a crime, then silence becomes an even greater crime. My brothers and sisters of Africa, leaders, observers of world affairs, concerned Nigerians, and especially the people of the Southeast who have lived with uncertainty for too long, today I speak with clarity and transparency. I speak because the truth should never remain hidden behind political protocol. Why I spoke about Nnamdi Kanu. Some may ask why I chose to raise this issue. My answer is simple. When a political conflict in any African country creates humanitarian concerns and fuels instability across borders, then it is no longer an isolated matter. Nigeria is a great nation, but its internal tensions affect the entire continent. Nnamdi Kanu is not just a detainee. For many people, he represents history, identity, and unresolved political grievances. Whether anyone agrees with him or not, his imprisonment raises legitimate questions about justice, dialogue, and long-term peace. Tensions in the Southeast have grown, communities have suffered, economic activities have declined, security challenges have risen, and none of these problems have been solved by silence or prolonged detention. My intervention is not to support separatism or to interfere in Nigeria's sovereignty. It is to encourage dialogue and prevent deeper instability. Why I approached Russia. Some will ask why I spoke to President Putin instead of relying solely on African institutions. The truth is that many African bodies move slowly or remain neutral even when action is needed. Russia has shown readiness to listen to African leaders without treating our concerns as secondary. This is not about choosing global sides, it is about choosing solutions. Russia is a major global power with influence, and influence can sometimes unlock doors that have been closed for too long. My discussion with President Putin. During our meeting, I presented the full context of Nnamdi Kanu's detention. I explained the social and political history, the rise in tension, the grievances of the Southeast, and the risks that prolonged detention poses to regional stability. I emphasized that Africa cannot build a peaceful future while ignoring unresolved political wounds. President Putin listened carefully. He asked questions. He examined the broader implications, and he acknowledged the importance of African-led solutions to African problems. He said something important. If dialogue can save lives, Russia will support dialogue. This gives hope. It signals readiness to support peaceful efforts aimed at resolving long-standing issues. What I did not do. I want to make this absolutely clear. I did not advocate for the breakup of Nigeria. I did not promote any separatist agenda. I did not challenge Nigeria's sovereignty. I did not take sides in Nigeria's internal politics. My purpose was humanitarian and strategic. My goal was to prevent further instability in West Africa. My message was that justice, fairness, and open dialogue are necessary for peace. The message to Nigerians. To the government of Nigeria, this is not an attack. It is an appeal for political maturity and constructive engagement. To the people of the Southeast, especially those who have long prayed for intervention, your concerns have been heard at a high diplomatic level. To Nigerians in all regions, unity is strongest when grievances are addressed rather than ignored. And to the Biafran community worldwide, this is not the final answer, but it is the first meaningful step toward an international conversation that has too often been avoided. Africa's responsibility. Africa cannot continue ignoring political crises because they seem uncomfortable. Africa cannot progress if its leaders remain silent about issues that harm millions. We must build a continent where justice is not delayed, where political disagreements are resolved through discussion, and where human rights are respected. This intervention is part of a larger message. Africa must no longer wait for outsiders to dictate solutions. Africa must act. Agreements reached with President Putin, fictional. After long discussions, President Putin and I agreed on several important steps. 1. A diplomatic working group will be created involving Russia, Burkina Faso, and other interested African nations to encourage peaceful dialogue between the Nigerian government and concerned groups. 2. Russia is willing to support Nigeria by helping create a framework for discussions on political reconciliation, human rights, and security. 3. A humanitarian assessment will be encouraged for political detainees and prison conditions across the region, including cases like Nnamdi Kanu's. 4. A new African platform may be established to address internal political crises without relying solely on Western mediation. These agreements represent a new kind of diplomacy, African-centered and focused on long-term stability. Our final joint conclusion. After hours of conversation, President Putin and I agreed on a clear conclusion. Africa cannot afford unresolved political disputes that lead to violence or instability. Dialogue is essential, peace is essential, justice is essential, and where justice is delayed, peace is put at risk. We agreed that the issue of Nnamdi Kanu must be handled with wisdom, fairness, and urgency, not as a threat to Nigeria's unity, but as an opportunity to heal long-standing grievances and strengthen stability. This is not interference in Nigeria's sovereignty. It is an appeal to safeguard its unity through justice. My message to Africa. This moment marks the beginning of a different approach to African politics, one where leaders take responsibility, one where justice is addressed directly, one where no African region's suffering is ignored. Africa is rising, but rising requires courage.
So guys, let's get into the news of the day. Nnamdi Kanu fighting darker forces than Nelson Mandela fought, says his wife. Uchechi, wife of Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, has said her husband is fighting against forces darker than those Nelson Mandela faced in South Africa. She emphasized that Kanu is not a terrorist but Africa's greatest freedom fighter. Posting on X, she wrote, "The Igbo youths and students are in solidarity with Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is not a terrorist. He's the greatest African freedom fighter that exists and the leader of millions of Biafrans gathered all over the world who are under his umbrella." Uchechi noted that though the IPOB leader is not perfect because no human is, he loves his people and his people love him and many are willing to protect him with their last breath. And you know that what Nelson Mandela fought in the arena with those amicable to reasoning. Despite its brutality, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, however, fights in the arena against forces far more darker, she added. Kanu is currently serving a life sentence at Sokoto Custodial Center after being convicted by Justice James Omotosho of an Abuja Federal High Court. He was sentenced for charges related to terrorism stemming from his agitation for the actualization of the sovereign state of Biafra. So guys, Nnamdi Kanu was convicted on the 20th. So guys, as you can see, but nothing but good news, that Burkina Faso's president is in Moscow to meet with Putin for the release and defense of Nnamdi Kanu, for it to show that Nnamdi Kanu is a man of freedom, is a man of peace. Nnamdi Kanu is a man that has come to set his people free. So guys, follow up, hit the subscribe button, tell me what you feel like in the comment section.